I'd like to call the meeting to order. Good evening, Rotarians, friends, and family. Welcome to the 26th meeting of this Rotary year. I am your president, Rotarian Samuel Malaki. We shall start off this evening with the Rotary Grace, and this will be led by Corinne Mbati.
Good evening, everyone. May we say grace. We thank you, dear Father, for the care, food, friends, and fellowship we share. May we forever keep in mind all those whom life has left behind.
Amen. Thank you very much, Corinne. So for the second part, we shall have the loyal toast. So if you have a glass, please charge it. If not, place your hand over your heart. To His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya. To the President.
To the President.
Thank you very much. Next, we'll have the four-way test, and this will be by Rotaractor Winnie Limo. Winnie? Okay. Seems like she's yet to join. I shall ask the support of our club admin, Liz Wanjiru, to help us out with the four-way test. Director Liz.
Thank you, Mr. President. We will say it together. Of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you very much, Director Liz. Thank you. So I'd first like to recognize the presence of our country chair, Rotarian Saum. Thank you very, very much for joining us this evening. Would you like the opportunity to say something?
All right, family and friends of Rotary, good evening. I'm Rotarian Saum. My club is Rotary Club of Hurlingham, and currently serving as the country chair Kenya. Happy to join this club. So I have lots of friends in the club. Interested to hear what the guest speaker will say. Also a good friend of mine, and just excited about RC Madaraka. Your PR is uko juu sana, very impressive, and keep it up. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Country Chair Saum. So for the next part, we shall move to the announcements. And I shall ask, so the first announcement is from the membership director. So I'll give this on behalf of the membership. Last weekend, we had a small home hospitality, and this was to 3 children. So that's Pete, that's Rotarian Karen's son, Anna, Rotarian Rosebella's daughter, and Mona, Rotarian Melissa's daughter. Names are good, eh? So we had a small visit. As is tradition with our club, we always visit newborns. But lately, we've had restrictions on visiting. So we made it a very small, just 2 members of the club who went visiting and taking gifts to the children. And on behalf of the mothers, they said a big thank you to the club for visiting their children. We plan to visit other babies in the next 2 to 3 weeks, and we shall share the same with the rest of the membership. The next announcement will be from Club Admin Director, Rotarian Liz.
Mr. President, friends, family of Rotary, good evening once again. So from the club admin desk, the dates on the twinning trip with the Kampala Metropolitan have been confirmed. That is the 19th to the 21st of March. Costs at 18,000. Please note, this does not include flights, does not include COVID tests, does not include those who would want to take bus as a preferred means of transport. So for those who of the option of flying, they are advised to do so on Friday. That is, take the early morning flight, because you remember you have to do a 1-hour drive from Entebbe to Kampala. And then those who would prefer to bus it, they have to get to Kampala, and then all of us converge on Friday so as to do another 4-hour drive from Kampala to Masindi, right? So the location on where we're going to stay is at Murchison Falls National Park. I hope that is the correct spelling. And then those who would want in on this trip, please make sure that you pay a 50% deposit by the end of February, and then the balance should be cleared by 10th of March. Flight costs, retail at the moment go for around 27,000 per person, and then bus costs should be around 6,000. But we'll communicate the rest of the details on transport means to the group. And please do mark your calendars, mark your diaries, and get ready to travel to Kampala. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director Liz. The next announcement will be from the club treasurer, Director Keshi. So from the club treasurer, I'd like to announce that we received the second half invoice from Root International, and this is for all the members that we had now register. And we are in the process of making a part payment of the amount. So we still have some members who are yet to clear their subscription. So they cleared the first half, but they're yet to complete the second half payments. Our request to these members is kindly reach out to the treasurer and notify her of your plan to honor the outstanding dues. I can say last half was a very successful one. We had more than 50% of the members paying 100% of their dues, and majority of the members at least paid above 50% of their dues. So we're just following up for the balance. We hope to be able to clear the outstanding bill by end of this month. Thank you. So we shall move to the next part, where it's the introduction of the guest speaker. I shall ask our president-elect, Wilson Kamau, to introduce our guest speaker. P. Wilson.
Thank you, President. So it's my pleasure to introduce to you today our guest speaker, George Tekwane. George is the founder and CEO of Asilimia. Asilimia is a Kenyan fintech company looking to help small businesses, family, friends, and freelancers. It's a money transfer app that has transparency by aiding M-Pesa powered through M-Pesa. It helps people send and receive money for free of charge. George will tell us in his own words his ambitions and the goals of his company, which, as I said earlier, has the goal of making M-Pesa free. George has had a colorful entrepreneurship journey with ups and downs. His most recent achievement happened in 2019, where he won the grand prize at the South African Innovation Summit. He has since moved his operations to Europe, where he hopes to scale his business and attract more investors. So join me in welcoming George to speak to us today. George, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Wilson, for the introduction. Very happy to be talking to Rotarians, family, and friends. It's been a minute. Can't see myself, sorry. I think the lighting is a bit off. Let me try that. I hope that's a bit better. If not, at least my smile is somewhere there.
If you close the wardrobe doors, then we'll be all good.
Okay, just 1 minute. Yeah, sorry guys. Working from home, literally. So yeah, so happy to talk about my somewhat of an adventure in terms of just kind of moving to France to set up an office for Asilimia. It's, you know, there's like very many brave things I've done, but this one won the, yeah, this one was for the books in terms of me going to a country that I don't speak the language. Way of operations is very, very different. I showed up with, I'll say I only knew one person in Paris, and they weren't really connected to what I was going to go do there. So I'll start with the challenges and the opportunities. I think the first challenge is as metropolitan, or as, you know, you'd call it global as Paris is, the likelihood of surviving when you don't speak French is minimal. So everything is in French, from the contracts to opening the bank, to the banking application, to directions, to the supermarket, to even people themselves. They're very shy, or I wouldn't say anti-speaking French, because their shyness comes from not being confident in what they're saying or how they sound. They find that their accents sound very funny, or they don't like the accent. So even when they know how to speak in English, they'd rather not do it. So that makes getting around very difficult, whether it's engaging my bank manager or engaging with talent, service providers, and even just making friends. It's very difficult. So that was the first reality checks I got when I showed up, where it was of high importance that I hire someone that could help me set up the company. That leads to the second challenge, where labor laws in France are very strict. So the cost of a person in terms of legal implications and even capital is very high. And I happened to experience this in 2019, at the end of 2019, where they had a very huge strike, where for almost I think it was a month of non-stop strikes, and it was everyone and anyone, from teachers, lawyers, doctors, and they were able to do that for a full month without going to work. So the labor union is highly respected. If you hire someone, you can't. It's more expensive to fire them than to have them continue being at work. So that led to the fact that I wouldn't be able to just start off the bat with a French team. But luckily, also, I was able to leverage, I was able to find individuals that were passionate about what we're doing in Kenya and having an impact, as opposed to working in France, where most of the jobs tend to be, and this is my colleague saying, not very mentally stimulating, just because of the fact that the economy is evolved to the extent that you can be paid to do the least amount of work within the organization. So there's that as a challenge. I think the other one is the bureaucracy and the love for paper. So to get things done isn't a phone call or an SMS away, as we are used to do in Kenya, where if you have an issue with Kenya Power, if you have an issue with the bank, or if you have any specific issue you need sorted out, you can just call someone and have the issue sorted out. There you have to write a letter, like to close a bank account, have to write a real letter, send it, say that I want this bank closed. And they don't use email as much. So as you might presume or think that email is, internet has a high penetration, but the use of email isn't as much. Even right now with COVID and people working from home and restrictions being there are meetings that have not been able to do just because they love having actual meetings. So you have somebody saying they'd rather waste a month or two just to wait for the restrictions to be taken away so that they can meet you in the office and start a conversation. So opening a bank account as well had the same issue where I had to book an appointment for 2 weeks in advance. I missed the first one by like 5 minutes. I had to wait another 2 weeks before I could go and open just a bank account to have the, as they call it, the IBAN or the account number, so that I can be able to subscribe for some services such as my network, data, electricity, and so forth. So yeah, so they are very, they say Kenyans are slow or Africans are slow, but there's another level of slowness or things taking just too much time where you could actually lose 6 months and not have the progress that you expected to have. So that's some of the downsides. I could go on and on about that, but some of the opportunities that are there is that with how European Union works is that you have access to multiple countries apart from the country that you enter through. So immediately for me, when France started to be slow in regards to getting things done and even forming relationships, and also France doesn't have an eye, or they don't have an ear on the ground in regards to where Kenya is economically or the opportunities that exist. So for them, Kenya is the place you go for safaris and not where you go do business. And as such, you find they're not as open to engage in business transactions as they normally do in Senegal, Ivory Coast, and Mali. But because of just that opportunity that I could be able to move from one country to another, I was able to go to Berlin. And I found that Berlin is very different from Paris, where it's really an international city where everybody's from everywhere else but Berlin. And so English is spoken a lot more there. There's translation for documents, translation for some of the shops. And it's generally a startup city. So everybody you almost meet is either working for a startup, running one, or investing in one. Germany has a different perception of Kenya as well, where there's like a lot of business activities that have happened between Germany and Kenya. And, so when I talk to people about Kenya, they're like, I actually was there. I started a company at some point, or I've visited for work, as opposed to them just telling you, I've gone to see lions and, Diani. And that led to some things moving faster than Paris. But unfortunately, Germans love paper more than France, and they're more strict about process and following the rules. So at that point, I was like, I can't actually make that my, I was thinking I was going to move to Germany permanently, but just like understanding now the nuances, I preferred to go back to Paris and just make that my European HQ. So yeah, so the opportunities that you can move from one country to another very easily. The cost of moving from like Germany to France is 50 euros return ticket. Same thing for France to Poland, Switzerland, and so forth. So that kind of expands your chances of, I call it chances of failure, but you could see it as chances of success, because you have now a bigger pool of investors to talk to, a bigger pool of partners, a bigger pool of talent. So yeah, so that's the other opportunity. The other one is that Europe is, I call it, it's a socialist country. So immediately, so from the first day of me becoming a resident in France, I'm entitled to all the rights that a French citizen has, irrespective of the fact that had barely started paying taxes. So any program that has been created for a citizen, I am entitled to. So that's healthcare. So every French resident, whether it's a student or myself, you're entitled to be part of the national healthcare system. So healthcare is free. You barely pay insurance. So what you just pay is the usual social benefits, which are inexpensive. In the event that I can't pay rent, I'm also allowed to apply for the housing subsidies. Education is for free for if I had children that had joined me back there. So you find that it's a much easier country to move to in the event that you need a grace period to turn around your fortunes. Even currently with the pandemic, some of my friends who are Kenyans lost their jobs, but they're currently getting 60% of their 70% of their salaries from the government as every other French citizen. So it's a very good country if you are looking for a soft landing. The other thing is as well as access to capital. So there's a lot of patient capital and also cheap capital. And like in Kenya, where you might not be able to get the patient capital that you need to scale or grow your business. And also if you look at debt as well, it's very expensive, as you saw for the longest time when the president tried to change the interest rates. There was a very big pushback from banks. But in Europe, what's going on is that banks actually being pushed by, they're being penalized by the government to lend more capital just because nobody's borrowing money. So you find like in France, the typical French person doesn't borrow, so they don't even have credit cards. The concept of, spending what you don't have doesn't exist. And so you have a situation where banks are sitting on deposits that they don't lend. So if you're a business that comes in with a, with a legitimate business plan, which is if you give me €1, I can get €2 or half a euro in profit, you're likely to be able to get, the capital that you need to support and grow your business. Though unfortunately, the downside of, or rather the thing that I found was a bit difficult for me in France was the attitude towards doing business. So unlike in Kenya, where the only thing we talk about in between having a drink, having tea is what side hustle are you doing, where you put in your money, where you getting cash. I wouldn't say all the French, but a majority have a very bad view about businessmen or business people or why you're doing business. So you find talent is not motivated to work for startups, and like in the US or anywhere else where there's a likelihood of you making a big return of capital. You find as well the attitude towards selling or being aggressive to grow your business doesn't exist, as their motto is that you don't live to work, you work to live. And so at 5, everybody has left the office. Lunchtime, it's mandatory for them to go for their 1-hour lunch break. The weekends from the office where I work from, so it's a startup campus with 3,000 entrepreneurs. You'll find during the weekend there's only me and maybe the other person, and maybe 2 other people who don't necessarily have a social life in Paris coming to the office. So that leads you to be kind of isolated to the extent where you're seen as a capitalist who only cares about money, while the reality is that, if I don't build the business that I'm building, then in Kenya, we can't create the same wealth that can be taxed to get the country to the level of Europe. So those are some of the issues that I noted. And yeah, I think I could take a few questions if that is okay. And sorry that you guys can see me. The lighting is a bit not the best, or the camera.
No, that's okay. So just so it's just to everyone listening and part of the meeting. If you have any question just about how he got to settle, feel free to, you can drop it in the message box as we go, and we can address them at that time. So, George, my question to you would be, why did you have to go to Europe to do this, as opposed to, sitting back here and reaching out to your contacts there, or two different investment networks?
So yeah, so
And
good question.
sorry, and on that, sorry for interrupting you. Victor Kenneth is asking, why did you choose France to be HQ before leaving Kenya? So it's around the same lines.
So yeah, so I think good questions. Question I keep being asked. Every time in Paris, anybody meets me, they ask me, so what are you doing in France? And they usually expect me to tell them I'm there for the croissants, the paintings, and the culture. But I'm like, just show me the vault that stores the money. So yeah, so why I left Kenya was that I've been working in the ecosystem for like a year before deciding to leave. And some issues were very clear for me that the glass ceiling was too low, right? So basically the tech ecosystem in Kenya is predominantly invested by individuals that are not Kenyan. So most of them come from the West, and the individuals that raise the capital as well are from those particular countries and regions, or they have the branding that shows them to be from the West. And the conversation became very exhausting, where as a Kenyan, you had a lot of Kenyans complaining that the investors are not investing in Kenyans. And I saw that happen a number of times. And so I was like, it's either I continue chasing after my own tail, while the reality was that the business I was building was, one, it's very straightforward. Profit and loss is understood across the board, whether you speak in Chinese or you speak in Kikuyu or you speak in whatever language. Everybody understands reward and everybody understands risk. And I felt pigeonholed or treated as a Kenyan entrepreneur or an African entrepreneur, as opposed to just an entrepreneur with a business that needs to be validated from the point of view of profit or loss. So I started a roadshow in 2019. It led me to Cape Town. Was a successful roadshow to the extent that I got the first capital that took me there, and then I got the second round of capital as well, and that just kind of proved the whole idea that it wasn't the business that was the problem, it was the context that was the problem. And then thereafter, we got an opportunity to open an office in France, where this startup campus thought we were innovative enough to give us a space within the campus. And I was like, I believe Kenya is an interesting market to sell. Kenyan human capital is interesting as well, and my business has a return of investment. And as I mentioned before, France and Europe just has a lot of patient capital, and all they're looking for is business opportunities that could enable them to kind of either maintain the economy to the level that they're in or move them forward. So that was my reason. So my reason is looking for patient capital and just feeling that the tech ecosystem in Kenya is a bit toxic and not necessarily betting on individuals that look like myself who might be having investable ideas that can return an investment. So yes, I don't know.
The second question would be, and why France? Why not Germany, the Netherlands, UK, Lux?
So yeah, so I think my answer is like every other immigrant's answers. You tend to go to the easiest country you go to the first country that accepts you. So France has currently Macron is trying to make Paris be the Silicon Valley of the world. So he's literally competing with California, and they have a visa for innovative entrepreneurs. unlike other countries. So only Canada, the US, I think maybe a few other countries, but from a global perspective, I think France was the easiest country for me to relocate to and just put up an office there.
Okay. So the next question would be, and this is from CC Saum, is like, what kind of opportunities are there for self-employed Kenyans, and where does one start? And after that, our SA, Kevin Masharia, is asking, how did you raise capital? Is it from banks, VCs, angel funding?
Yeah. So one of the things I think I can't stop talking about since coming back is like how much opportunities exist in Europe for Kenyan entrepreneurs. I didn't go there as a student, I didn't go there employed. And one of the things I realized is like a plus if you show up with that kind of narrative, or if you show up in that kind of platform, is you're able to, so for me, I don't see, I don't have the French lens, because as I mentioned, 3 months in, I quickly realized I might not be as successful as I want to be focused only on France. So I have a European focus, and the opportunities are from, so I did a trip, I did a tour of like 5-7 countries, and everywhere I went to, I would go to a coffee shop or I'd work from WeWork, the co-working spaces, and I would see Kenyan coffee in all those spaces I went to, and Kenyan tea, and I would look at who's the roastery or who's bringing in the coffee, and it wasn't Kenyan, right? And there's no complexity of selling those things in Europe. So selling coffee is as simple as a French friend of mine just put coffee into his suitcase, went to the airport, showed up in the streets of Paris, opened his suitcase and sold his coffee, right? And so the opportunities are from just taking what you've grown up with, right? Like just the, I really enjoyed drinking, what do you call this? What do you call this sauce from the coast that comes from, what's the name? I forget the name, but I was able to eat, you know, I think we have kashata. So I found people who have industrialized kashata. They've put it into like a package and they're selling it in Paris through the Turkish shops because they're the ones who like it, you know, and just being there consistently, not seeing anything that is of value in Kenya across all those multiple countries. So exporting products to Kenya, to Europe has an opportunity, because countries like Poland, for instance, they've never seen a kitenge, they've never seen a kikoi, they've never seen a kikapu. You know, I've seen Chanel in Paris selling the kikapus from, you know, Morocco for like 500 euros, right? And this thing was made in Morocco. So yeah, so just exporting or like exporting the Kenyan culture, East African, like getting the baskets I see in Rwanda, getting them to Poland. Berlin is very multicultural, is very, you could make money from that. Service as well. So France or Europe, they're not very good on service in terms of just the whole hospitality idea of customer is king or giving you an experience. So even setting up an organization, getting into the service industry is interesting, because they outsource all the receptionists, they outsource the event managers, the shop attendants. So yeah, so there is like, I think if you show up with an open mind and you're mobile, I think there's tremendous amounts of value and opportunities, because one, infrastructure exists. So you could easily close deals from Nairobi and have your meetings when you show up there, because LinkedIn works, Google works. So anything you want to find out about how many shops, how many coffee shops exist in Paris, in Poland, what's the contact details, you can have all of them. You can easily like tell them, hey, are you interested to buy my products? They don't have a procurement team, and you're able to like get the products in. So I think just the availability of infrastructure in a way that we're not used to in Kenya, where I can't tell you how to like get products into Java, for instance, or I can't tell you how to get into Total, because there's a lot of things that are behind a veil, and there's no infrastructure, consistent infrastructure to make you move from idea to execution and to collecting of that value. So as I mentioned, in France, everybody has a debit card. They have like a high level of disposable income. So even if you sell them mandazi and that becomes your trade, you'll have a line of people ready to buy it. So what I can just tell you is that the sky's the limit just because the infrastructure exists, because you could literally sell from one corner of Europe to another one, because you can take a bus that costs 10 euros from, as I mentioned, from France to Poland, and be able to go for a morning meeting in Poland, come back and sleep in Paris. The economy is 24 hours just because of security. Electricity never disappears, the internet works, everybody's online. So I think it's a very exciting place to be in if you've survived in Kenya or if you've done business in Kenya, because your competition is minimal, just because everybody is wired or almost trained to find a job, because it's easy to get a job at Zara or a coffee shop. So you find the people who don't get jobs or good jobs, they tend to do the easiest thing, which is get into like the service business, not to start a side hustle or a business like in Kenya. So if you come there with the Kenyan mentality of you work hard, you hustle hard, and you're just kind of smelling and sniffing opportunities, you'd be able to do quite well. But there's a transition phase though. So you might end up losing 6 months to begin with, but yeah, there's a bit more hope. Yeah.
And in terms of, is this question from SA Kevin, and it's, how did you raise capital? Was it from banks, VCs, or angel funding?
So yeah, so it's a mixed bag of everything. So I've gotten angel investors, I've gotten accelerators to give me capital, I've gotten VCs to give me capital as well. I got, a loan from a bank as well in France. So yeah, so it's been a mixed bag of everything, because when you're raising capital, you don't really you don't choose who gives you money, right? You just choose based on the terms and also your level of need. So my capital has come from a mixture of everything, and having a side hustle as well. So yeah.
There's a question here from one of your users, and she asks, is Asilimia still alive?
Yes, very much so.
Whenever they are system update, why does it take long for transactions to go through?
Yeah, so the issue is we are growing. So COVID accelerated our growth rate. So we've gotten more users than we anticipated. So that's like stretching us quite a bit. And there's a lot of updates as well that we're making for 2021, just based on what transpired last year. So yeah, so we have a lot of pain points as multiple other companies have. So yes, so we do have issues, but we're constantly updating them, fixing them. So we're having growth problems like every other business would have. So yes, we are very much alive and kicking.
Yeah, so there's a question here from Kenneth, Victor Kenneth, and this is a question that many entrepreneurs are asked, and they talk about team and the team being key, and talking about bad hires. So his question is, as a CEO, as a startup CEO, how did you choose your first team?
Yeah, so I think if you're a startup, you don't have choice is not the word. I think you don't, and especially if you're a Kenyan startup, you don't choose who you work with because of just lack of capital. So I think so you don't start by choosing. But for me, how I approached it is that I have been very selfish on who gets to be the custodian of my company. And so what that has meant is that I've had to stretch myself a bit much, stretch myself extremely thin just to ensure I can get the best in class in regards to who I work with. Because your business is as good as who gets to take care of it, right? There's this joke of you could take your kid to Braeburn and they can be taught by a British teacher, and in the hopes of the teacher will give him a British accent. But if the house help, who tends to spend a lot of time with your kid has like a broken accent, the likelihood is that your child will have that broken accent, irrespective of how much money you're paying for his or her education. So your team is very important from the word go. Like you need to be extremely ambitious, extremely selfish from the beginning in terms of saying, I want to work with the best in class, not the cheapest human capital and not the easiest accessible, as most times that it happens in Kenya, where you hire who can say yes to the worst pay, or you tend to just kind of hire who's your relative and is happy to work with you. So your team is very key. If I didn't have my current co-founder in France, who's like the COO, I wouldn't survive in France, right? So if it wasn't for her speaking French, going with me in meetings, translating the whole meeting, applying for grants, talking to banks, like doing like 90% of what I can't do, I would tell you France is a failure, right? And if it wasn't for my developers who are handling the Android application, who are handling the backend, currently as bad as you know, as many outages as we have, our product currently is the best in market in terms of the design, the things that it enables you to do. And this is not me, right? For me, I'm just the crazy guy who talks about the dream, the vision, and everybody else is executing. So team is very, very important.
So Director Liz has her hand up, so I'll let her ask her question. Liz?
Thank you, Mr. President. So, Georgie, I've just heard you mention that Android users, have you finally migrated to iOS? Then my other question was in line with the challenges and successes that you've experienced so far as regards Asilimia. And my final question, when the president came to France, did you give him a loan? Thanks.
Okay. So yeah, so the first question is whether we are building for iOS. No, because we don't have them. There's no need or there's no market for iPhone users in Africa or in Kenya per se. Challenges, I think there's been many. I can't even count. I can't count them with my hands. You know, just from transitioning to France, I had to lose my side hustles that I couldn't manage from there. So revenue all of a sudden disappeared. I think the questions you've raised about like network outages, sometimes it's beyond us, you know, and that causes us pain because the users will come on us very hard. We have lost team members who've chosen to go work for bigger companies at critical times. We've gotten rejections from investors as well. That always hurts. Yeah, so there's been multiple, right? Like every day is another challenge, you know. So yeah, so we have multiple challenges of talent, capital, users, market dynamics, you know, COVID. Okay, I would say COVID was bad and good. You know, it was bad for our users, but yeah, so we always have all this kind of challenges, you know. Selling Kenya sometimes can be difficult if something happens in between, you know, the news and you're talking to an investor. That can kind of change the conversation, make it go 360 degrees turnaround time. So yeah, so multiple of them.
And the successes?
Yeah, successes is, you know, I never thought I would move to Europe because of Asilimia. You know, it's interesting to see, you know, what is possible from a perspective of, I didn't show up with like bank statements of like, you know, ridiculous amounts of capital or title deeds of everywhere. I just showed up with an innovative idea and I got, you know, residency that tends to be only exclusive for, you know, what they call critical skills or for rich individuals. So just that one thing is like a success in itself. I think seeing also the impact I've had on, you know, the Judy, the users that use our product, and just knowing what that savings does for them, right? Like when I talk to my users, when they talk about the savings they've made, using that for the school fees for their kids, or just like for getting their kids back to school. That's super interesting. So that's a success for me. Seeing my team grow, where we've worked with some talent which comes straight from university, not much confidence or knowledge in terms of execution, and just see them grow within the organization. That for me is a success. Yeah, and just kind of the freedom that Asilimia has given me is a success in itself, right? I've lived my best life in regards to just having the opportunity and chance to dream and then follow those dreams at my pace. Yeah.
Mr.
Thanks,
President,
George.
with the permission.
So the next question is, so this is from the last two questions. We can have one more. So this is from Rotarian Stalin Moses. And the question is, thank you, Mwendwa. What is the cost of electricity, internet compared to Kenya? And do you foresee the need to learn French in future if you haven't already? And then the other question is from our Service Projects Director, Joel. Hi, does Asilimia have mass cash distribution model, i.e. can it be used to pay multiple people at the same time?
So yeah, to just start with the first question, I think on learning French, I'm a bit, I'm rebellious on that regard, where the first thing when you show up in Paris, everybody asks you to speak French. And if you say no, they ask you why not. And they're very aggressive towards like kind of making you feel bad for not speaking French. And through my experience hosting guys through Airbnb, I've seen individuals who've moved to Kenya who don't speak English, let alone Kiswahili. And as Kenyans, we've never been hostile to them. We've never impaired them to start the businesses they've started, get the jobs that they've gotten. So I just feel that I shouldn't be forced to, just because I didn't force individuals that are my guests in Kenya. And also my strategy is more European centric and not French centric. So I cannot learn all languages, right? I can only kind of improve on the language of trade, which is English. So yeah, so I don't see myself learning the language as of now. I might, just to talk to a few family friends that have, a few people I've grown fond of in France, and they don't speak English. So just for them, I might want to make them laugh in their own language. The cost of electricity. So everything is actually more expensive in France, especially in Paris, more than in Kenya. So eating out is very expensive. Rent is ridiculously expensive. Data has become cheaper, it's cheaper now. Electricity, I don't know because I don't pay for it. I stay in a furnished apartment, so that's like inclusive. But generally, I would say Paris is a more expensive, it's like a ridiculously expensive city. Berlin is much different. Berlin is almost at the same price as Nairobi, if not cheaper for some things. Yeah. And then does Asilimia do mass cash distribution? Yes, because our target market has always been traders. So within the application, you can send to multiple users and send it multiple values at just 2 clicks of a button, as opposed to M-Pesa, where you have to like put in different amounts, different people multiple times, and you're paying multiple times. So yes, so we do bulk transfers with the application. We are finalizing on our web app where you could do an Excel sheet and kind of just send that out. But we've been focused on the Android application because most of our users don't have a laptop or so forth.
Great. So we shall get one final question from Director Liz. She says it's a burning question. So Director Liz, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. So Georgie, my last question was on your monthly subscriptions. We noticed that you moved from 150 to 350. What was the reasoning behind this, and has it in any way affected your levels of subscriptions?
So yeah, so I think it's based on the value that we are providing. So after just doing business for the longest time that we've done, the data shows that there's like a lot of value we're providing, and you're leaving a lot of value on the table for us as well. Impact, I think we got scared last year when we introduced the subscription, because it was right about the time when the government pushed Safaricom and the banks to make some transactions free, if not all of them. And what we saw is that we didn't lose users. We actually, we grew during 2020 organically and aggressively, just because of the value we provide. So we haven't lost users because of the subscription, because we go for a very niche market. So our customer is not the mass market, even though currently the application is available to everyone. We have specific users who understand the value we provide. And as such, we feel that we are currently underselling the application even as is at the moment. Yes.
Okay, thanks for that, Rotarian George. Just a comment to Liz, when he starts making money, don't call him Georgie, call him George. So my question to you is that, I happen to be in the space, and investment space, and when we got to March 2020, most investors decided to stop dispersing and just manage their investments as opposed to getting new investments. And due to that, there was a bit of a retraction in the venture capital PE market, and people started going for more mature industries. How are you able to navigate this type of environment when you're fundraising?
Yes, I think so. There's the popular opinion, which is the popular opinion is what you've mentioned. But the reality is that there's actually more capital now than there was before. So as you know, so I'm speaking from like a perspective of Europe and the US, where capital has become too cheap, right? So with all the subsidies that have kind of been given by governments, what has happened is that money has lost value in the markets, right? So borrowing is not happening in Europe, it's not happening in the US, because every other person now has access to cheap capital. So what's happening is that this capital needs a home, right? So people can't sit on money until the time people need cash. So you've seen Bitcoin has been fueled by the same ideology that investors have a shit ton of money, the market isn't returning any capital whatsoever, so they put it in Bitcoins. What's happened in Africa, or in Kenya to be specific, money has not lost value because our government can't print cash and kind of dish it out. So what's happening is that today, 100 Kenya shillings, the value is more than it was like in 2019. So what that means is if you're a person with cash today in Kenya, you have like ridiculous competitive advantage. And anybody who has the entry to that market and is speaking to the West or to the Western investor is getting cash, right? So I'm actually more excited, especially in the fintech space. In Nigeria, there was an acquisition of a fintech startup. So now you have this FOMO that has been created. Anybody in insurance, agri-tech, like I think this is the time for Africa to raise capital from the West, because we're the only ones who have a functioning economy that hasn't been disrupted by excess capital getting into the market without control. So I think I'm more enthusiastic and excited about 2020, 2021 than I have been for the last years. And for any other entrepreneur, if you have a business that can take capital or absorb capital, I think you're in the best position, because in Kenya, as I've said again, money today has more value than it had in the previous years. So yeah. So I'm going about it very bullishly. with more stubbornness to investors, or like a bit more confidence, where I'm saying the value of my company today is higher than it was yesterday because I'm the entry to a market that's functioning, right? Like I'm a gatekeeper to, for the lack of a better description.
Thank you very much, Rotarian George. So we shall move to the next part of the meeting. For this, I shall ask our SAA, Kevin, to take over. Rotarian Kevin.
Thank you very much, President Malaki. Thank you very much to the guest speaker as well. I'm sure there will be a vote of thanks at the end, but it was a very, very interesting and captivating talk. I'm sure you all learned a lot from that session. I'm seeing that we've really gone over, so I'll try and keep it very brief. Today is Rotary Monday, so as usual, this is an official club meeting. If you know you are not wearing your pin, 4-way test, tuma 100. If you know you're not wearing your pin. Secondly, and the number is there up on screen, actually you can see it, the paybill number, 982-800, the account number. Both options are placed there. And there's also the PesaLink option with Prime Bank as well as the account number. So as we started, those who are not wearing their pins, today please send your fine, 100 shillings, very simple fine. If you are late for the meeting starts at 7 p.m. And I don't want to call out names, so kindly share your fines as well, 100 Kenya shillings for that. And then we'll open the floor for happy dollars and sad dollars. Do I see any happy dollars? Do I see any sad dollars? And I will also find Liz for being very familiar with our speaker and being overly enthusiastic. Tuma 100, Liz.
Past President Karimi has her hand up.
Go ahead.
My happy dollar is for George. It's good to see George prospering. I've known George since he was hustling, and yes, he can be called Georgie. So yeah, my happy dollar is for George. It's good to hear the good work that you're doing. All the best. Thank you.
Asante sana, asante sana. Joe, I see your hand up.
I have two happy dollars. One for the Monday. Second one for George. Good work, and thank you for reminding me about coffee bean drunk in Paris. He's always looking out for new markets, and it happens to be one of his business partners. He's also our business partner.
Haya, utalipia pia hiyo advertising, Joe. Tumasindikiza na 100 pia.
Advertising gani sasa?
Kusema venye nyinyi business partners. Tuma, na ukiargue tena kuna ingine tena ya kuargue.
Okay, sawa.
Okay. Any more happy dollars, sad dollars? Stalin?
Thank you very much. I would like to give 2 happy dollars to Mwendwa. Thank you very much. Nice presentation. And I wish that you can continue to grow. And also my second happy dollar goes to today being a Monday. A lovely Monday, not a Monday.
Thank you very much, Stalin. Karime, I see you asking where the M-Pesa is. It's on the screen. This Malaki is sharing his screen. The president is sharing his screen, and the details are there. Any more happy dollars, sad dollars? Okay. I'd also like to give 2 happy dollars. One, it's a Monday, and it's been a while since I fellowshiped with the club. And secondly, for the guest speaker today for the talk was very engaging and insightful. Back to you, President Malaki.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much, SAA. So I have $5 happy. The first one is to George. I've seen George in these streets, man. So I'm really excited to see this idea taking off and scaling the way it is, and success in future funding rounds. And I mean, remember to always have an exit strategy. That's something that entrepreneurs always lack. We tend to think that we'll always be in the same place, and yeah, so have an exit strategy. Second happy dollar is for Monday. It's a great day. Third one is for the visits that we did on Saturday. That was really, really exciting. I live for such moments. Fourth happy dollar is for having our country chair present with us today. And the final happy dollar is to our club. You're great people. Thank you. It's always great working with you all. So there's some happy dollars that we have with us. And there's happy dollars from our country chair. She sent happy dollars for George, Rotarian George, and the RC Madaraka team. We have happy dollars from Victor Kenneth to the speaker. You showed me it's possible. And we have also happy dollars from Rotarian Eden to the guest speaker. Thank you everyone. Remember, we channel all happy dollars towards our projects. So thank you for always supporting them. Okay, so we shall move to the vote of thanks, and this will be done by Rotarian Liz Wanjiru. Her enthusiasm led to her doing the vote of thanks. So Rotarian Liz, take it.
Thank you, Mr. President. Georgie, even if Mr. President you oppose, we still are going to call him Georgie. Thanks for gracing us with your presence. Thank you for honoring the call to come to talk to us. Georgie, props to you for following your dream. You are a pace setter to every other entrepreneur, not only in Rotary, but also countrywide. We've seen you grow, and we know that you're going to, as in you have a brighter future ahead of you. We wish you the best of luck, and also thanks for honoring our call. Every time we call upon you to come attend meetings, to become our guest speaker, we thank you so much for honoring the call. You are also our point of reference when it comes to tech products, when it comes to tech talks. Thank you so much for gracing us with your presence. Thank you for just being a good friend to Rotary. Thanks for being a good friend to personal friends. Thank you, Georgie. Mr. President, back to you.
Thank you very much, Director Liz. So now on to the final toast. Again, everyone, thank you very much for being here. I miss physical meetings. So we are planning to have another test physical meeting next month. Hope that everyone will be able to attend. The club admin will share the details once we've hammered them out properly. Okay, so to the final call. Rotarians, ladies and gentlemen, please charge your glasses. If you don't have one, place your right hand over your heart. To the Rotaract Club of UNAFIA, Rotaract Club of African Nazarene University, to the Rotary Clubs of Kampala Metropolitan, Rotary Club of Hurlingham. This is Rotary Club of Nairobi Madaraka. I give you Rotary and Rotaract the world over. to Rotary and Rotaract the world over.
And Rotaract the world over.